We're going to start today's talk by demonstrating what 10 seconds of time feels like. And I want you to think about the last time you spent that amount of time, 10 seconds, looking at a photo that you took before you swiped on. Let's do a show of hands. Was it perhaps in the last week? In the last month, maybe? What about the last 3 months? Okay, a few more follow-up questions for you. If you have a particular photo in mind, can you remember something that you noticed about that photo when you took it? Maybe ask yourself now why you took the photo. I was once at a concert where I was whipped away by the peer pressure of whipping my phone out to make sure that I was capturing every moment of it. I realized after some time that I was watching the whole thing through my camera screen rather than the devices that I had on me, my senses. Before you know it, I came home with 57 video clips that I probably won't watch again. I couldn't tell you what it felt like listening to that flute soloist. I couldn't tell you what the opening song was. I couldn't tell you which songs he would point the mic at the audience for us to sing along. And we're all doing this in some way. Perhaps at the restaurant, when the food is about to come out, we've got our phones out before we've even had a chance to smell the meal. I was talking to my builder last week. He spoke about when he's at the playground, he's taking the videos of his daughters on the swing. He'll pass it on to his wife. He'll show a friend, and then it's gone. We're losing these in archives that we're not going to really revisit again, while missing out on the experience of being there in the present moment. Now, it's obvious to say that I wasn't being fully present in those moments, but I want to go a bit deeper and say that I wasn't fully trusting my senses. I wasn't trusting my memory. And this forms a crucial part of today's conversation, because memory is one of the really integral reasons to why I became such an avid photo taker and vlogger. You see, when I experience depressive dissociation, my brain struggles to form memories, sometimes even erasing the most meaningful ones. Point in case being, in 2017, I had to sit through a very awkwardly painful silence as my cousins and siblings reminisced a time when my father played an entire game of Monopoly with us. Now, for my immigrant father who spent most of my childhood working, someone who's a little bit emotionally unavailable, I would have loved to have retained a memory as important as that. But I've got zero recollection of it. And there's a particular cruelty that comes with losing memories that you didn't even know you created. It makes you question, did it even happen? Was I even there? Did it matter? Do I matter? My intention for today's conversation is to share with you my journey along unlocking that consciousness and removing that compulsion whenever we take our camera apps out. It started with me frantically documenting everything, treating my camera like a life raft. Instagram photo dumps, scrapbooking, monthly printing, Polaroids, everything was a desperate attempt to hold on to those sands of time before my memory let go. And then, when I was studying my master's in applied positive psychology, which is the strengths-based study of what makes life worth living, I came across an intervention that uses photography to keep me grounded in the present moment while enhancing my mental well-being. Now, I hear what some of you might be thinking, because I came at it with the same cynicism. How much difference is going to take some photos intentionally really going to make? But lo and behold, I ate my own words when the intervention, initially coined by Steger et al. In 2013, gave me immense benefit in just the 10 seconds it took to complete it. The task is simple. You take 9 to 12 photos across the period of a week of things that bring you meaning in life. You then reflect on it, and me being me, having evidently a lot to say, decided to journal about it. You take a survey called the Satisfaction with Life survey before and after you take each photo, and at the beginning and end of the week. Now, The scores might feel a little bit arbitrary, or people might say that there's plenty of other vicarious factors that could have influenced it. But that lived experience was real. On day one, I was taking photos of retrospective journals because we were in the second lockdown, and there wasn't really much meaning that I could find outside my four walls. By day three, however, I realized that I needed to stop focusing on photographing the thing and photograph the noticing. So on day three, I took a photo of my workspace within those four walls. And what I noticed was the rebellious yellow that I had chosen to paint my wall as a replacement for the clinical white that previously existed. This was a representation of a life transformation that was occurring at the time. By day 7, I was taking a photo of the weights in my room because they represented how important movement became for me to survive that first lockdown. The satisfaction scores had increased for sure, but more than that, my world was becoming interesting again. What I realized was that I was savoring the moment by putting a cap on the way I photographed. Firstly, by using Polaroids, because let's face it, film is expensive. But then I started to extend that into thinking my use of filters. Or at concerts, taking my phone out for the 10-20 seconds of the beginning of the song and then putting it away before I enjoyed it with my actual devices. Then I turned it into a social connection exercise. In 2023, I hosted my very first positive psychology photo walk. And the premise is very simple. You meet at point A. I provide some prompts, which are always suggestions, ideas, rather than instructions. It could be something like, take a photo of a shade of green that you haven't seen before. And then you provide a time to meet back at point B. And that bit in between is a free-spirited exploration. You can choose to walk alone, you can walk with other people, walk in silence, enjoy as many chats, coffees, stopovers as you like. The magic happens at the debrief at the end, which is when that connection allows us to build bridges, perspectives, and shared wisdom. When we witness how other people view the world, we open up our hearts and our minds for more compassion. And one such example came during this very first photo walk, which happened in the wake of the Palestinian genocide. One of the prompts I set was to take a photo of something that would inspire hope in a Palestinian child. These are the photos that one participant came back with. She said, "It's not much, but it's the only thing I can think of us sharing. I will never understand what you're going through, but I hope that one day we get to share this piece of the sky, which is droneless, bombless, and clear. We're very different, but at least we share this same sky." That same silence occurred then as well, but it wasn't awkward or painful. Bittersweet, yes. It was finally a holding space that we co-created in a safe environment for us to share that grief, the unspoken words, the loss that we were experiencing. In sharing each other's worldviews, we opened up that capacity. We became strangers with phones to people who saw each other a little more deeply, with a little more humanity. Flowers on a windowsill became the sign of life in a concrete jungle in London. Another participant took a photo of an ice cream truck that represented his friend's colorful personality. And a falling leaf became a very spiritual reminder for another one of our participants about how little control we really have in life. Now, I'm not here to tell you not to take photos. It's an invitation to think about unlocking that consciousness, removing the compulsion next time you open up your camera app. And you may find examples of my journey, for example, with the filters, or putting a cap on the number of photos that you take, going back to printing, maybe turning your Sunday family gatherings into photo walks. I'm also enjoying the vast possibilities that it's opening up for me, both in my coaching and consulting work and in my personal life. And more recently, I've started to fancy myself as a bit of an amateur David Attenborough or Christopher Nolan, as I vlog the mundane aspects of my life. I'm romanticizing my Monday morning coffee, and it's helping me to slow down. I took that attitude with me just last month on a trip to Bangladesh to see my father's childhood through his eyes, before age, mortality, and my own memory closed that window forever. Sometimes it was in the mundane moments, like waiting in the homeopathic doctor with him, sitting in silence. Sometimes it was on our morning walks through various villages of his childhood. And sometimes, more especially, it was when I was running a high fever and he came downstairs with his shawl to wrap me up. What I was doing is now no longer using this camera as a desperate attempt to hold on, but rather as a way to help us build those memories together. Not just my memories, but his memories as well, in tandem. This became a moment for me to honor this man and the bridge between our past and our present. Now, I want to extend this invitation to you as this positive psychology photography comes full circle and we're reclaiming the narrative of how we take those photos. The first thing we're going to do is revisit those 10 seconds at the very beginning. And I'm going to take a photo of us, one that I can look back on tonight with just the eyes of seeing, no judgment. There we go. And I'm going to invite you to do the same thing as well. When you leave this auditorium, today's event, I want you to ask yourself this question. Are the photos that we're taking as an attempt to remember actually causing more disconnect? What are you going to choose to notice differently? What are you going to share with your loved ones? And finally, a moment of appreciation for my dissociative memory, positive psychology, and photography as a gift that came to me, and that's the gift that I want to share with you. I'm looking forward to seeing your photos. Thank you for your attention and your presence today.